this work? Am I on?
Shabbat Shalom, Olive Tree family. Thank you for joining us today. Susan and I are very excited to be standing in front of you with another missions report. This was Susan's second trip down, and very excited that she joined us on this trip. And there was a lot that we accomplished, and we're excited to share with you guys today.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Psalms 139 Love is a ministry organization that was started by Amanda and Paul Peacoat. I was like, I can't even say their last name. I've worked with them in the trenches. I can't even say their last name. So sorry if you two are watching. Right. I love you very much. The point of Psalms 139 Love was to reach the people of Haiti and help them to know that not only are they loved, but God created them capable of doing amazing and wonderful things, and that they're made in their image, and teaching them how they can grow their own food and provide for their families, but ultimately seeking the Lord for those provisions. And
it's been exciting. I've been going down for 3 years now to this community and working with majority of the same group, and it's been amazing to see them evolve over time as we equip and pray for them, and this congregation is praying for that community, so thank you.
So before we get started, I am looking through my Bible. I'm not on my phone, for selfish reasons, I promise. So I'm trying to find the chapter. So we wanted to talk a little bit about, Psalms 139 Love, and I mentioned this a little bit the first time that I went on a trip and we came up and gave our mission report. But I really want to drive it home because I actually had a conversation with someone last night, and they said something along the lines of, you got to actually go and see the Lord's work done. And they were kind of jealous of that. And it really grieved me when they said this, because I was like, you see the Lord's work done every day too. What we're going to talk about in Haiti is awesome. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing, but this is the body doing what the body does. This is not, Josh and I are not special. I mean, we are, but
Thanks, Susan. I'm happy you think I'm special. By the end of this, you may think I'm special too.
Oh, man. I don't even know where to go with that.
You're quite right here.
We're special, but we're not special.
I think what Susan's trying to say is we're just a small part of this.
Yes.
We're a part of the body, and you guys are a part of the body, and we all have our own roles.
Yes.
Whether you can go on a trip to Haiti or not, or you're back home praying, or you're supporting, you see a need that comes up while we're down there. We had many that supported projects or things that came up instantly, and we thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Without you, we couldn't go, we couldn't be a part.
Yes. And the prayer coverage that y'all had was amazing. We could send something to the prayer chat and just be like, hey, be praying for this. And in minutes we had, I'm praying for you right now, I'm praying for you right now. And then seconds later, the prayer was answered and we just didn't have signal to where we could be like, hey, thanks y'all, it worked. So thank you guys so much for supporting us and praying for us. You don't know what that means. But I wanted to read a section in Romans 8 before we got started, because one of the things that every time I went to go pray about this trip and was like, okay, Lord, what do I need to be praying about? What are you going to do? God just kept reminding me of what he's been teaching me over the past several months, which is there's a bigger story going on that you play a part of. And I wanted to read Romans 8, 20 through 29, because it's talking about how God works things together for the good of all his people. It's not God works all things together for the good of him. God works all things together for the good of her. It's all of us at once. God can be doing something for one person, and that's going to affect tens and thousands of people. We just may not see it. So Romans 8, 20 through 29. For the creation was subjected to fertility. Thank you. I love you guys. Not willingly, but because of the one who subjected it in hope, that the creation itself also will be set free from bondage to decay into the glorious freedom of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groans together and suffers birth pains until now. And not only creation, but even ourselves. We ourselves, who have been first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we eagerly await for adoption, the redemption of our body. For in hope we were saved, but hope that is seen is not hope. For who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, then we eagerly wait for it with perseverance. In the same way, the Spirit helps our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we should. But the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groans too deep for words. And he who searches the hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because he intercedes for the righteous according to the will of God. Now we know that all things work together for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, so that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. So as we go through our little chat and show you about what's going on in Haiti, it's not just this is what God's doing in Haiti. This is what God's doing, period. You all are a part of it. There are other people who are a part of it that you guys don't even know. And we just want to show you just a little bit about what the body in Haiti is doing, because they're your brothers and sisters too.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I'd love to say about this trip that was different than many other trips, and I'll preface this, Haiti is probably, and I've been told this by numerous people, the most difficult country to minister to and to get anything accomplished. So this was, I have to say, the smoothest trip I've ever been on. And I've been down 14 times to Haiti. We had multiple groups working on different projects, and it was just amazing how it all came together and how it was a smooth trip. Mm-hmm. And I'm just really grateful for how it turned out. So that's evidence of all of your guys' prayers and your support. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Which is why this report's going to be even cooler, because last time Josh and I kind of worked together, like we did the same job. Like he worked with the boys, I worked with the girls, same subject. But this time I saw you at night and at the breakfast table. But it was cool to see how God worked, our different groups that we worked with together. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're ready for pictures now, Gideon.
All right.
Okay. You want to talk about MFI?
All right, guys, so this is a picture of MFI's hangar. MFI is Mission Flight International, based out of South Florida. It is always a big adventure just to get there, to get ready to fly down to Haiti. Usually, if it's a week-long trip to Haiti, it's almost 2 weeks with travel, preparations, and getting ready. MFI is a huge blessing to the ministry. It allows us to bring whatever we need to down there. This trip, we brought down about 1,100 pounds of cargo, including almost 500 pounds of military engine parts that we'll share a little bit later about. But they are a huge blessing, and really without them, we would not be able to go to Haiti, especially with all that's going on right now.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the people who work at MFI are not paid.
So everybody volunteers. There may be some paid individuals, but overall, all your pilots, they're missionaries. They do all their fundraising, just like we do fundraising to be able to go down, but they do it on a bigger scale. A lot of the people that are there helping the day-to-day operations are volunteers as well. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing, but it's also kind of sad right now. Their attendees and amount of trips and missionaries that are going down is very low right now. So please be praying for Mission Flight International, that they're able to continue to provide these much-needed services to the folks that are boots on ground in Haiti and other countries as well, that they have the funding to continue to do what they do.
Yeah.
All right.
So this was one of the pictures we took flying over to Haiti. And again, it was just amazing to be able to see all the water and the different places that God created that I've never visited before. It was beautiful.
Yeah, so this is pretty much your first view of Haiti as you fly into the country each time. This is coming into Cap Haitian. We always fly into either Cap Haitian or Port-au-Prince to go through customs. And then it's another 12-minute flight to the grass field where we got to chase the goats off ahead of time, which I got to be a part of. That was fun.
I'm still jealous.
Yeah,
I'm so jealous.
It was pretty neat running down or not running, but on the back of a motorcycle going down a grass field runway. But once again, just absolutely beautiful country. A lot of people think of Haiti being in the middle of the Caribbean, which it is, but when you get to the center of the country, we don't get any of this beautiful water.
Oh, no.
We're in the middle of the country, and it's very, very dry, especially this time of year.
Yep.
All right.
So this is the Blanc team. These are the whites.
And we almost had a private chartered flight just for us.
Yeah.
I think each way we had 1 or 2 extra people other than our small team flying with us.
Yeah. So this is Paul and Amanda. They're the couple I was talking about earlier who started Psalms 139 Love, and then there's Josh and I in the back. We flew down on Thursday. I told everybody Wednesday, but we flew down Thursday, so I'm sorry. As you can see, we're all really excited about what God's going to be doing. So, this is us at Cap Haitian going through customs. We're waiting for the guy who comes on and checks all our bags to finish up. So we took a picture under the wing because it was blazing hot. And
in the middle of winter.
So hot. And I cried because I was like, yes, it's not cold. So happy. I hate
it was a
cold,
nice
y'all.
break.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the day y'all got snow, I'm not kidding, I got a sunburn. It was quite funny.
So you can see there's two planes here, the one we flew in and one other one. That day, I think I believe they flew into Cap Haitian and then into Dominican Republic to drop off supplies for missionaries over there as well. Mm-hmm. So they did fly two planes that day.
Yes.
All right.
So we did several different outreaches on different days, but we are kind of going to just group the kind of outreaches we did all together. So this was one of the days that we went to, this is, I believe, Haiti?
This would be the Haiti
This
community.
was Haiti, okay, I get the names confused. And we went to the church down here, and we did a little presentation. Amanda had felt like she needed to be talking about purpose. She never really felt called to like preach or anything like that, but this trip she felt like she needed to. So we go to Hattie, and she gets up and she does her talk about purpose, about how God has a purpose for every single person. And she gets done, and my sweet beloved Haitian pastor from the pulpit goes, "Now before Sister Susan speaks," okay.
Here we go.
Here we go. So then he took us back to the kitchen the whole time. I'm like, oh, Lord, what am I supposed to say? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just follow with what God's teaching through Amanda. So I kind of talked a little bit about purpose too, because Amanda talked more about like God created us for a purpose, and I talked a little bit more about how we find that purpose through communing with God and talking with him on a daily basis. And sometimes you don't know right away. God does not always strike you blind like Paul does and be like, you're going to go talk to Gentiles. Sometimes it requires baby steps. And I actually ended up telling my testimony about how I even came to Haiti. I started doing ministry in America, and then I went to New York, I went to Pennsylvania, and then to Haiti. And the story is still continuing. Like, I don't know what God's plan is for me next personally, but like, I never would have gone to Haiti if God had not prepared me beforehand. And so I talked a little bit about how, God sometimes will tell you to just walk out in obedience of something small and minute, and it doesn't seem amazing, it doesn't seem world-changing, and it doesn't seem important, but it is. Because even the little things that we do create a big impact. And like I mentioned earlier, they're going to affect a lot of people that you don't even realize.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about this community and the church you see behind us there. I've been coming to this community, Hattie, for about 3 years now. I didn't visit on this trip, but one thing that's been amazing is over 3 years, you can see how high the walls are. When I first got there to this church, they had 1 to 2 rows of blocks. But every time I keep coming back, you see a little bit more and a little bit more that the community is being able to purchase those blocks and finish out their church. But they don't let that stop them. They're out there worshiping. Mm-hmm. It could be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, maybe on a Sunday, whatever day of the week they're out there worshiping. And by the way, this is probably the only church within 8 to 10 miles. It's an 1.5 to 2 hour ride. Got to go through a big river to get there. And there's just not a whole lot out there. It's a very, very remote area. And there's a lot of voodoo out in this community. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing to be partnered and be able to go back and continue to sow into this community, into the community of believers that are out there. All right.
So one of the outreaches we did, I'm really excited to talk about this one because it involves specifically 2 people from our congregation who I did not even know this was happening. So like the day before we left, or not the day before we left, but the Saturday before we left and I was here, Mr. Tim and Miss Judy, are you guys here?
Yep.
Oh, hey. They came up to me and they're like, so there's a box of toys in the Sunday school room for you. And I was just like, oh, okay, I guess we're taking this down. I didn't know I didn't know we were doing that. Apparently Josh knew. I was like, okay, cool. So we took the toys down, and Miss Judy made some bears. I got a picture of one of the bears that we'll show in a minute, and then Mr. Tim made these beautiful cars. And I didn't really know how we were going to give these out to the kids, because I was like, well, we don't have like a bazillion, so it's not like we could just, like throw them in the roads, even though someone might have done that a couple times. But
That's another story.
Yeah, another story for another day. But yeah, I was just like, okay, like this is a blessing the Lord's given us, but I don't know how we're going to do this. So this is actually a clothing outreach we did to some kids that are in school that need some clothes. And we had like these 2 massive bags of handmade little girls' dresses, full, barely could open them, spewing out, great blessing. And I'm not kidding you, 5 boys' t-shirts and 4 boys' pants. That is all we had for the boys. And we were just like, what do we do? Like, this is all we have for the boys. Like, what do we do? And then I happened to remember we had these cars. So all the little boys got either a necktie if they were older, or the little boys, they got their car. So God knew that these little boys were going to feel, left out because they weren't going to get some clothing. So he told Mr. Tim to make these cars, and he followed in obedience, and these little boys got to go home with these cars. So you can see a couple of them, and then some of the dresses that the little girls gave out.
Now, I believe all these kids that showed up to the house this particular day are all kids that have had a scholarship that someone paid for them to be able to go to school. Mm-hmm. And towards the end of the message, I've got a photo of an individual that came to the yard looking for help to go to school. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But you guys have no clue the blessing it is for someone to be able to attend school in Haiti. Mm-hmm. Not only is it an education, but it is also a meal every day. And some of these kids may not get a meal if they didn't get to go to school that day. Mm-hmm. So huge blessing, and it was nice to be able to invest and see all the kids come to the house that day.
Yeah. All right. So this is the house that we stayed at. Gideon, is there a picture of me with the little boy with the neon shirt? Could you go to that one, please, before I talk about the house? I thought it was.
I think it's the next one.
Yeah, I thought it was this one.
Yes.
Yep, that's him. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this little boy really quick. So he comes up to me, and I help him pick out a car, and I could tell there's something off with him, but I don't know why. There's a language barrier, and he's trying to talk to me. Of course, can't speak Creole, but I'm like, it's okay, you can take it. So he kind of wanders off, and he grabs Karen's, our translator, and he pulls him over there, and he says something to him, and he turns to me, and he says, Susan, he wants to give his car back because he needs pants.
Aww.
So, of course,
he needs shorts.
Yes, he needs shorts.
Clothing.
Yes. So, of course, he was one of the last ones, so I let him keep his car, and I gave him shorts and pants. But I was really proud of this little boy who was very willingly to give a toy away because he knew he needed clothing, and it was reminding me once again just how much we have and we take for granted and how little they have. And he was so happy. Like, I mean, this was the grin when he realized that, he got his shorts. Not the car, the shorts. He loved the car, don't get me wrong. But he was like, I have clothes now I can go to school in.
That's a big thing.
And then he got a little car on top of it, and he was super excited too. So he also got a toy. These are a couple of the bears. This is our neighbor's little girl. She came over every day and would play with us. She was so super sweet, very sassy. The first day that I was down there, I was missing a lot of people that I know, and I was missing particularly one of my friends, her 2 little girls, and this one was one of her daughter's age, and she came up, gave me a hug. I was like, okay, this works. This is good. And then lo and behold, her sister, who's the age of the other child, comes wandering, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, yes. I get a little baby time. It's
definitely beautiful when I start missing my boys. I can just go find one of the many Haitians to love on.
Oh, yeah. And they openly love you.
Oh, yeah.
They openly love you. Okay. So this is my goddaughter. This is Jeppessy. This is Pastor Aslan's little one. She's holding one of the little bears. And I got really blessed this year. I got a nephew and a goddaughter, so I'm really happy. But I want to talk just a tiny bit about my relationship with Pastor Aslan. I met him the last day that I was in Haiti the first time, and there have been a handful of people in my life that I've audibly heard the Lord say, go speak to this person. Every time I've argued. Pastor Aslan was one of them. I was like, nope, he speaks Creole, I speak English, not gonna work. But God was like, nope, you were going to talk to him. Turns out he speaks like one of the best English translators we got. And I was like, oh, okay. But we have a really good friendship. We've been able to lift each other up in prayer and encourage each other. And so when his daughter was born, he asked me to be her godmother. And it was amazing to be able to go down and hold her. And I was so scared that she was going to cry because she'd never seen a white woman before. And I was like, she's going to cry. And she didn't. She was actually really snuggly. And she cried when I put her down.
Aww.
I cried the whole time I was there. But it was amazing. This little baby was born premature, and she was very sick. And there were several times that they thought that she wasn't going to make it. But one of the things the doctor told Pastor Aslan and his wife was, your daughter may be one of the littlest ones in this hospital, but she has a very strong and good heart, so you don't need to worry about her. So I don't know what God has planned for this little chickie, but it's going to be cool, and I'm excited to see it happen. But I got to give her one of Miss Judy's sweet little bears, and she loved it. She immediately put it in her mouth. It was great.
When Chris, myself, and Gideon were there about a year ago, we got to go visit her in the hospital and pray over her and her family, and it was absolutely beautiful. So it's good to see her doing well.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the house we stayed at. You can see there's some solar panels on the top. There was some more solar panels we installed later at the ATC, and we'll talk about that. But this was the yard that we stayed in. This was where we got to really connect and minister to the guys who work at the ATC, because they work really super hard. They're also humans, and they just sometimes need community. And so this is where the community was able to help get established. We got to play games with them at night. We ate meals together. It was just a great way of having fellowship with them.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of it, is really connecting with our team and investing in them, and them seeing us over and over and over again really means a lot. Nothing against anyone that can go on a mission trip just once, but being able to invest and minister to them and build them up is huge. Life is so hard in Haiti, so providing that hope and love is a huge part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay, so one of the things that we did is we worked with a lot of widows. One day, Amanda and I spent the afternoon, and we brought food baskets down, and every single one of the food baskets we brought had a great story, and I will go through them quickly. This lady, when we walked up, she started crying, and we bring out the food baskets, and she's just bawling, and she tells us through her broken Creole that she has been sick, and she had ran out of food, and she had no idea what she was going to do, because she has her daughter and all of her kids living with her, a lot of kids, and she just didn't know what to do, and God provided her with food. We were able to pray over her that God would heal her completely. I got to give those kids some cars and some bears and play with them, and also some clothes for the girls. And that was just really amazing to see how, God heard this one widow's cry for help, and we didn't know she was out of food. But Amanda felt like this was one of the girls, or one of the women that we needed to go give a food basket to.
One of the beautiful things is Psalm 139 Love has been partnering and providing food. And over this last year especially, this has been more important and probably life-saving than ever before, with the gangs blocking roads, stealing all the fuel in the country. Food prices have absolutely skyrocketed. And that's where our agriculture training center is coming in more and more important, as we distribute food to the elderly and to the widows that have a fair amount of kids to take care of. Mm-hmm. And so Susan will explain some more.
Yeah. So this is, we did a widow's luncheon that we went to, and that was amazing. We walk in, and they were all genuinely worshiping the Lord. And these are women who their husbands have left them, their husbands have died, they are poor, they're hungry, they have families they have to take care of. And to see them all genuinely worshiping the Lord with hearts full of gratitude and love for their Savior was amazing. And then I got to have the honor of praying the Aaronic benediction over them, and that was just amazing.
Wow, they can dance.
They actually didn't dance this time. I was shocked.
Didn't?
No, they
just
sang.
Everyone I've been to in the past, those ladies can barely walk to get there, but they can outdance me any day long. And I mean, make me tired.
Yes.
So
yeah, that was the widow's luncheon. These are the kids I was talking about earlier. They're playing with the cars. It's kind of a fuzzy picture because the sun was setting, but they were really happy and they were enjoying it. So this is, we gave some seeds out back at Hattie and some solar audio Bibles. They loved the solar audio Bibles. That's a really big thing down there in Haiti. Actually, it's such a big thing that they keep getting stolen because everybody wants them. So this is a great way for people who don't know how to read, that they can hear the Word of God, and they're very excited about getting these audio Bibles.
They're probably our hottest thing we get requests from on a regular basis. When we're there, we'll have at least, 40, 50 people coming to the guest house asking if we have some audio Bibles to be able to hand out. If you are looking at a way to equip and send the Word, this is an amazing way, these little audio Bibles that has it in Haitian Creole. We have a couple blind men that we've given them out to, some pastors, and even one Catholic priest that got one as well. So let's pray over that, and he actually listens and learns.
Yeah. So this was the last widow we visited the day that we went to do all the food baskets, and she had these two little children, and she lived in this shack. I'm not kidding, a shack. It looked like the metal thing behind Parker Road that we would play in, that our parents wouldn't allow us to play in, Riley, that one. She lived in that, I'm not kidding. It was bad. And the sad thing about it was it's better than what it was, because when Amanda first went to visit her, it was just like two poles and like
Maybe a tarp.
Maybe a tarp. And she lives there with her two children, and Amanda,
I know who this is.
Amanda felt like she needed to say something to the two kids, so she sat them down and she told them about how when she was 5 years old, she asked Jesus into her heart. And she asked them if they would like to do so too. So the two children said yes, and so she got to lead them to the Lord that day. That was super exciting. This is right after it happened, so you can tell the joy on her face. She's super excited. So yeah, be praying for these two little kids as they begin their new walk with Jesus. Yeah. Okay, so this was probably my favorite widow to visit. This is... she lives not too far from the house that we stayed at. And we come in, we got our food baskets. She is actually in the house. We call her out, and she sees Amanda and I. She sees the food and immediately begins praising the Lord and does not stop even after we left. Like, she is just singing and glorifying God. She thanks us, but she is glorifying God. And she is just praising Him for taking care of her and her family. You can see she is so happy because she knows that the Lord is watching out over her, and it was amazing. We did a video for Psalms 139 Love talking about giving out the food baskets, and if you guys get a chance to go watch that one on her Amanda's Facebook page, really pay attention to this woman, because what you can't hear is while Amanda is talking about what's going on, this woman is sitting there praying for Amanda, and she is genuinely, like, I just saw this woman enter into the presence of God and talk with her friend in a selfless and loving, grateful, heart-overflowing way, and it was amazing. I wish y'all had been there to see this woman pray. It was so cool. So cool. This is another one of the widows that we visited, her and her family. You can see they're very excited and they're waving. This is when we were leaving. This lovely lady, she has 6 children?
I believe so, yeah.
6 children and 17 people living in her house. Is there a picture of the house, Gideon?
I don't think we had one.
Okay, this is the house she's living in with 17 people. And it's not just 17 children. It's grown people in this house. And they are all just crammed in there living together. So that was really hard to watch and see. And so I got to actually go around and look at the house and go in the rooms. They were very gracious. And when I come out, Mr. Paul is out there, and he is talking to all of the teenagers that are there. And I can't understand because the translator is talking Creole at the moment. And I realized that what he's doing is he's asking them, what do they want to be when they grow up? And they're like very big grin. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an agronomist. I want to be a nurse. And he was like, you know you can do those things. Like this situation you're in, it's pretty bad, but you don't have to stay here. The Lord has created you for greater things. And he's just really encouraging them to be the people that God created them to be. And they seem to be really listening. And it was really amazing because I think lots of times we look at our situations that we're in and we feel like we can't get out because they seem impossible. But we have to be reminded and remember God created us for a purpose. He didn't make us on accident. That's not what he does. He doesn't make things just because he wants to. He makes them for a purpose and because he wants to. And every one of those people in that house was very special and important to the Lord. And Paul took time to feed their souls and remind them, hey, God sees you and he has a plan for you.
And this is something that I don't believe many Haitians get an opportunity to hear. They are so hand-to-mouth, day-to-day, it's hard really for them to think beyond tomorrow. So for someone to take time and invest into them and let them know that God loves them and God has a plan for them and that they can dream about a bigger picture is pretty special.
Yes, it is. That's one of the rooms. One of the maybe 3 rooms in that house that 17 people are just crammed in. Okay, so this is a video of us going into the ATC, and I'm probably going to act like a super proud aunt or mom because, y'all, the guys here work their tails off, and it is amazing. So I want you to just see. When I went last 2 years ago, there was nothing. It was just bare. It was awful. There was no really, I mean, we could see the potential. But if you just walked on there, you'd be like, oh, this is some land. Okay, cool. It's not even tilled. There's random trees and some rocks, and you're going to make a garden? Okay, cool. And what these guys have done is amazing. So go ahead and roll it. Wow!
Okay. Middle of the drought season. We only get 2 to 3 months of rain in our area of Haiti.
Yes.
So everything that you see that is green is being supplied by the irrigation and the pumps and the deep
When
well.
I was here last, none of this was here. None of this was here when I was here 2 years ago. All these.
I think we got it check together.
You guys see a lot of plantains and bananas. Those are the bigger trees that you're seeing on the lower end of the property. And I think we've got some more photos coming up of some of the expansions and what we were able to do with the well and the irrigation system. That was one of my big projects when I was down there.
But what you just saw in the video was the beginning of the land. There's a hill with things on top of it that you don't see. Like, it is crazy. There's peppers and there's trees and there's so many different things, and these guys have worked so incredibly hard, and it is amazing. Please keep the ATC guys in your prayers as they are working. Another thing that they did, which this was an amazing day. So we did a little workshop for some of the widows who are going to start a flower business to sell to some of the local restaurants, maybe some funeral homes. And I went there and I was like, I don't garden. I don't do things. Actually, my father's like, we kill plants. That's what we do. I'm like, why am I here? And we get there and we get them started, and the guys just come in and it changed. Like, I watched them work in the garden, and they were, working hard. But then when they started teaching, their faces lit up, and they got so passionate. Jodalyn, who's the one who is bent down over here on the left in the kind of tank or muscle shirt thing, he led the workshop, and he spoke with just so much passion about flowers. Like, flowers, y'all! And he was teaching these women exactly like what the mulch should look like, how they should plant it, how many times I should water it, what to be looking for, healthy plants and all this stuff. And they taught these women, and it was so beautiful to see these guys who, work every day in the hot sun helping these plants grow, and then they get to teach these women what they learned. And it was an amazing experience. I really wish I were there because I can't describe to you the change from working in a row to turning around and teaching someone how to grow your own food, or in this case, flowers.
And it was amazing because not only are we equipping and helping these women possibly with a new business, but we gave them an opportunity to come together in fellowship. And Haiti, you don't get a whole lot of that. You're really busy with life. There's a lot going on, fetching water, cooking food for hours. So the opportunity for these ladies to come together in fellowship, which I know you don't see a good picture of right now, was really amazing to see come together. And so please pray over that. Pray that these ladies are able to find even a little bit of income that could come from this opportunity.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is part of the top of the hill. Again, this is not all of it. This is the video. So Paul's leading me around. It was smooth. It was so rocky when I came last time. And there's trees, and there's greens.
It's gonna produce food.
That's the cistern right there. It's a little jumpy.
So we have quite a varieties of fruit trees that are growing on the property, and we've been doing kind of a test to see how they do. There is another ministry that we've partnered with called Trees That Feed, and they just announced after our upgrades in this trip that they are going to be using us as the primary source to distribute and grow tree saplings in all of Haiti. That will be coming out of the ministry. Guys, not only is Psalm 139 Love going to be able to minister and bless a lot of people in the country, but this will also bring some income into the ministry and into our agronomist hands to better their lives and be able to expand the ministry in the farm. So huge news, and we're excited to be a part of this, to be able to affect on a bigger scale in Haiti.
Yeah.
Now, there has been a lot of limitation due to the amount of water we could pull out of our well. We drilled a 6-inch well, but the irrigation pump that was installed was only producing about 5 gallons a minute. And 5 gallons a minute is just not enough to water everything that you see here. So one of the projects we did is we brought down a much bigger pump that's pumping between 35 and 40 gallons a minute. And this was a huge, huge upgrade. Yes, praise God.
Do you want to go ahead and show them the picture of the well tower and the pumps while he's talking?
So this was one of my big projects.
Oh.
I kind of focused on the irrigation and also helping to get our military truck running. We'll show a couple pictures of that if we got time. There you go. There you can see we did have to add from 2 solar panels to 8 solar panels to be able to run our pump. And that was an interesting trip for one of the individuals to go to Port-au-Prince and pick those up. But very excited. There you can see some of the irrigation that we got set up. We went from a 1/2-inch line to a 2-inch line so we can move quite a bit more water throughout the property. Here are the guys working on the irrigation and the well. And they worked quite hard. Our team was very excited about the new pump and kind of just showing some pictures there of them as we were putting it in. There's Anson comparing the old one to the new pump. You can see quite a difference there in what we can do. And there we were installing the irrigation pump. All right, this one you might want to talk about.
Okay, so this was back in Haiti. When we got there, they were already praying, and I just saw this man all by himself, and I didn't eavesdrop, but I took a picture because it was just beautiful to see this man going away to talk to his Creator. And it meant a lot to me to see, and I don't mean to be like setting them aside, but the men in Haiti speaking to the Lord. You don't see that often. Okay, so this is Bai. So you talk about Bai since you were there first time.
All right, so Bai is a pretty remote community. Another one way off in the other direction from where we visited earlier and showed pictures. It's about an hour and a half drive, once again, in a very remote community. And God brought the ministry there with a young boy that got sick. Some of you guys may remember he had bone cancer and a very enlarged leg. The ministry got involved and took him to the hospital. and found out that it was bone cancer and that it was very advanced stages. Myself, Pastor Chris, and Gideon went and visited this boy, tried to make him as comfortable as possible, and it was amazing. We were able to bring him and lead him to the Lord and tell him about heaven and how amazing it's going to be. He and his mom both accepted the Lord that day, and we went back to that community to hold a celebration a couple days later, and 51 more people came to the Lord that day in that very remote community. There's only one or two churches in this community, one of those being a Catholic church. And it was amazing the numbers of people that showed up back then. So we knew we had to do something. So we've sent 2 of our pastors there every single Monday to minister to this community, to grow this group of believers. And every week, it's 150 to 200 people show up to hear the word. Mm-hmm. Amazing. They are now currently meeting in the streets in this community. So let's be praying about that and what can be done to help this community.
So real quick, we get there, and I was actually prepared this time. Pastor Aslan asked me a couple days before if I would talk. I was like, okay, I will. So Amanda gets up there, and she does her part about purpose, and while she's talking, we're all crammed in this gazebo, like crammed, very tight. If you have a social bubble, it wasn't going to stink. It was just, it was tight. And so I'm like, buddy with Aslan, and I just was like, what do these people need to hear? And he said they need to know that God loves them, he's going to provide for them. I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, and I'm praying. And up until this point, I'll be honest, I don't know why I went on this trip. I knew I wanted to go. I asked the Lord, because several times I've asked to go back to Haiti, and it's just not been able to happen. Some of it was me. Some of it was just stupid COVID. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm going to just go in. This time I'm going to tell Amanda, yes, I'm going. And if you don't want me to go, stop me. And he didn't stop me. But I'm still like, I don't know why I'm here, and it was really bothering me. And I had several people that were like, you're supposed to be there for a reason. I'm like, I know, but what's the reason? I need to know. I don't want to go just like as a fun trip. And so this was Sunday, correct? No, this was Monday. This was Monday. So Friday night, I had a conversation with somebody, and they just said, describe to me your best friend, talking about the Lord. And I was like, well, I don't want to tell you what you already know, because you've grown up in church, and I don't want to tell you what you already know. And they're like, no, just describe to me your best friend. So I did. I described how the Lord, like what the Lord intimately means to me, and we had a great conversation. And I didn't think anything about it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm and I'm like, okay, Lord, they need to hear that you love them and that you're going to provide for them. But like, I don't want to just get up there and say something different than what Amanda said, because it's going to be confusing with the language barrier. What do I do? And then God helps me realize I had already given my talk on Friday night. I got to practice it with this person, and he just wants me to pretty much say the same thing. And I was sitting there, I was like, this is why I'm here, because the person I had the conversation with, nobody else would have had that conversation with that person that was in Haiti. And it was me who had that conversation, and I needed to say it again. And then I start listening to what Amanda is saying, and Amanda is leading them through the salvation prayer. And I was like, I get it. So Amanda leads them through the salvation prayer. We have, surprisingly, 51 people again, come to accept the Lord, and we lead through the salvation prayer, we get their names, so we can follow up with them, and then I get up there with Pastor Aslan, and I got to explain to them what happens next. Like, you've invited the Lord into your life, cool, now what does this mean? And I talk about how Jesus is always with you, and he provides for you, he loves you, and that he created you because he loves you, and he created you for a purpose. We're still on this whole purpose train. And I got to talk to them about just how much God cares and wants to provide for them. And I'm struggling because I'm like, I need an example. And I look over at Pastor Aslan, who was translating for me. I was like, I can just tell the story about how I met him and about how God has used our friendship to remind both of us that you're not alone. There's someone praying for you who's talking to the maker of the universe. The maker of the universe is the reason I met this man. I didn't even want to talk to him, and God said, go talk to him. And God has, again, we've been able to encourage each other. His daughter is my goddaughter, and we've been able to bring together that way. I talked about how this community, and my dad and my brother had came here first. They couldn't come down this time, so they sent me, and they remembered them. They remembered Daddy and Gideon, and their faces lit up, and they were excited, and they started getting it. God loves us so much that 2 years ago, and again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn at all, but 2 years ago, he sent this chick who had no clue why she was going to Haiti, argued about going to Haiti because she didn't want to go to Haiti. 2 years before that, sent Josh down there. Years before that, sent Amanda down there. Years before that, like, it keeps going, and God keeps building and building all of it for the good of those who love God. It's all for him to receive glory and for all of us to realize just how much we're loved and that we're all a part of a big story. And it keeps building and building and building and building. And it's not done. It keeps going. We don't know, what God's going to do and by next, but obviously he loves these people so much. And I'm not saying that's the reason that Josh went down the first time. I'm not saying that's the whole reason Amanda and Paul started this mission, but it is a part of their story.
Amen.
And it branches off into theirs.
Absolutely. Definitely amazing to see these community. And as we were headed out, there was an amazing sunset behind us, and I just happened to be able to snap this picture real quick, and it turned out to be one of the best pictures of the trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to the icing on the cake, after how many years of sitting dormant in the yard?
It's been about 2 years. Our military truck was destroyed by a mechanic that didn't really know what he was doing, and we've been praying and working together to get another engine, and we got it shipped from Oklahoma to my house, and then we had to find the right people to tear it apart and get all the parts ready, and some of the parts were not great, so we had to order new parts, and we got all the parts together, got it down there, and then we ended up getting an entire garage of mechanics that specialize in diesel come across the country to come work on this truck for us. It took days and days of being there to get it all together, but finally it came together, and they worked really hard.
Mm-hmm. They worked very hard.
Got it together in 3 days, and praise the Lord, it's running again and ready for use again. So we're so grateful for that.
Yes.
This is called God's General.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of how this general came to Haiti is amazing as well, but we could talk about that another day. Mm-hmm. You can see, and it was very great to see them all inspecting the parts and everything we brought down, and they gave us their word it was going to work before we left. So we're quite grateful for that.
Yeah. So that was, you guys don't even know what having this truck means. There are places we can't go because only this truck can go.
That's right.
And to have it working means now we can go back to those places and go to other places that we've never been before. So the fact that this truck is fixed is, you don't even know what that means to the ministry and what it means to the bigger story of what God's going on. So this is the joyride we took. I'm sorry, Mom, I stood up. I was really excited. We had a safe driver. But this is us going down the highway, and the people there know the general. They know the sound, and they were excited to see it too. But yeah, and it was also really cool because I didn't really know where we were going, and we ended up going back to one of the churches I went to the first time we went down there. So it was cool to see how that went full circle. But yeah, so that was the icing on the cake for the trip, was to have the truck finally finished.
And of course, I missed out on this ride.
Yeah.
I was at the agriculture training center.
I tried to stop them. I was like, y'all, we need to wait for Josh. They're like, no, we'll go. I'm like, but okay.
And they tried to call and message me, but I didn't get the message.
We tried. We did try.
So.
Real quick, so one of the things that, Psalms 139 love is teaching is people how to, grow their own food, but also how to start their own businesses so they can take care of their families. So this lovely lady here in the bonnet and the apron is She-Love. She is married to the fabulous Brunote. He was my motorcycle driver on the way, in my first trip. He was Josh's godson's dad.
He is.
And she has started her own business where she cooks. She's got this little setup here that you can see out on the streets. And she's open from 3 to 8. Most restaurants or home businesses are open from the morning and stop at 5. So from 5 on, she's the only person on our block, our highway, that is providing food. And she's cooking food. The second night we went there, she actually had some Christian music, praise worship music, blaring out to bring people in. So they're, using what we've taught them on how to start their own business, but they're doing it in a way of saying, hey, we are Christians, we do stand with the Lord, and He's our ultimate provider. And it was really cool. I mean, she was booming. We were like, okay, this is great, but can we go see our friend? Like, move. It was amazing. It was so cool. Very proud of her.
Over the years, we've been working with them to have a business concept and business mindset and how to expand. So for that, to see them starting their own businesses, to be able to provide for their family and use the resources of what's around them is absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. If you can go back to the last picture, I want to share with you, this is Peter's son. Peter's son is 18 years old. He came to us at the very last day, the last couple minutes we were there, wanting to sell us some chairs. He made 3 of these little chairs. Now, Peter's son does have some disabilities. As you can see, he's in the mobility cart there. And this is the largest size chair he could make, which is just a little small for Jericho, but Jericho loves this chair. So Peter's son came with these chairs. He wanted to sell them, and I think it was like $2 or $2.50 is what he was asking per chair, and all the money was going to help pay for his school. So Amanda did a quick video. He was very excited. He really wanting to go to school, and every time I've met this little boy, he's always got a huge smile on his face and is just very excited. So Amanda did a short video, posted it online, and within minutes, his entire school was covered and taken care of. So this boy no longer has to worry about where he's going to get funds to go to school.
Yeah. And he dug the holes with a spoon, y'all.
Very limited tools, obviously. And
they're beautiful.
Just cute little chair and just a little momentum. And yeah, Jericho takes this thing everywhere. He took it to bed the first night he got it, took it to the bathroom. He wanted to take it to school. Everywhere he went, he wanted to drag this along like it was his little blanket.
Aww.
So very cute. So I think that's the last photo.
Yep, that's it.
Susan catching the plane as we're headed out.
I'm strong.
Yes.
So yeah, that was our trip.
So we're very thankful that you guys joined us along on this adventure. All that God is doing in Haiti, through the olive tree, through Psalm 139 love. We thank you for being our partners in this adventure. And it's just amazing to see where God is taking the ministry and the people that we minister to there in Haiti. Yeah. So for those that would like to join along with us, you can always go to Psalm139love's website.com. Join along. There is a donate link or monthly partners. We need your support. We can't do this alone. Can't do it without you guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can also donate through the olive tree.
Specify
and in
it.
notes, just put Psalm 139, love, and we'll make sure the funds get down there. So we thank you guys. Thank you for joining us, praying along with us. All right. Yay, thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.